People think Willy Wonka is a quirky chocolatier. He's not, and in every version of the story, Dahl's book, Gene Wilder, Johnny Depp, Timothée Chalamet, Wonka's candy is just the distraction. It's the cover story, because what he really is something far more dangerous and far more calculated. Wonka isn't making candy. He's making people. The factory isn't a candy wonderland. And the golden tickets weren't random. After all, why does Wonka need a child to inherit an empire? Why are the traps so specific to each kid's flaw? And why does the factory feel alive? Willy Wonka is a genius, sure, but still human, still normal. But nothing about him is normal. His inventions break physics. Gum that contains an entire 3-course dinner. A beam that shrinks people. A gobstopper that violates basic chemistry and machines that manipulate gravity, pressure, and biological structure. And here's the thing no one ever talks about. Wonka shouldn't be able to do any of this. Not with the tools we see. Not with the time he's had. Not without knowledge that feels like it came from somewhere or somewhen else. So the question isn't, what does Wonka make? The question is, who is Willy Wonka really? Willy Wonka's chocolate factory is one of the most magical locations in movie history. But what if it isn't magical at all? What if it's dangerous on purpose? Everyone remembers the Wonderland candy rooms and the chocolate river. But look closer. The entire factory behaves like a purification system. Every accident a child has isn't an accident. It's an elimination test. Augustus, greed, removed. Veruca, entitlement, removed. Violet, vanity, removed. Mike, obsession and addiction, removed. Wonka isn't testing kids. He's filtering out the traits he refuses to let back into his world. The factory is selecting for something extremely specific, and Charlie is the only one who has it. Now ask yourself, what candy factory on Earth has a teleporting glass elevator, a river system with its own climate, rooms that can alter DNA, technology that can shrink humans, doors that lead to entire ecosystems? This isn't a factory, it's a closed bio-lab, a research installation disguised as a sweets empire. Wonka didn't invent candy. He invented bioreactive consumables, substances that permanently alter the human body. Every candy has a purpose. Everlasting Gobstopper is engineered sustainability. Violet's gum is accelerated evolution. Mike's TV chocolate is quantum compression. The fizzy lifting drink is atmospheric manipulation. Wonka doesn't sell treats. He runs human trials. And the factory itself? It behaves like a sentient ecosystem, a living labyrinth designed around human weakness. Every room is a test chamber. Every accident is a transformation. Wonka didn't build a candy empire. He built a psychological machine, and only one child, the one without corruption, greed, vanity, or obsession, makes it to the end. In every version of the story, Wonka does the same thing. He brings in a small group of children, exposes them to experimental products, observes their transformations, records the data, and discards the failed subjects. This is not random. Children are more adaptive, more malleable, more susceptible to environmental change, and easier to manipulate. Wonka selects kids whose flaws match the experiment. Greed for Augustus, to test food-based assimilation. Vanity for Veruca, to test behavioral conditioning. Impulse for Violet, to test rapid transformation. Obsession for Mike, to test cognitive alteration. Innocence for Charlie, the rare ethical control variable. Wonka is not punishing children. He is testing traits. He is studying how personality intersects with mutation. Wonka claims the Oompa Loompas come from a place called Loompa Land, a whimsical jungle. But look at them. Really look at them. Identical faces, identical height, identical behavior, identical loyalty, no signs of reproduction, no aging, no personalities outside their designated tasks. That isn't a species. That's a manufactured workforce. Oompa Loompas don't act like people. They act like a synchronized operating system running multiple bodies. Wonka didn't rescue them. He created them. They are lab-grown assistants built to maintain the factory's biome, run its experiments, and keep the system functioning without question or rebellion. And the singing. The weirdly perfect rhymes delivered at exactly the right moment.
I've got a perfect puzzle for you.
That's programming. Every song is a moral protocol, a warning message, a behavioral report delivered in musical form. They are the chorus of a scientist conducting tests, observing the subjects, narrating the outcomes, and reinforcing the purpose of each accident inside the factory. Oompa Loompas are Wonka's engineered custodians, and the factory is their lab. Wonka behaves like a man who's become unstuck in time. He doesn't age. He doesn't update his clothing, his technology, or his style. Every invention he makes feels like it comes from a different era. Some from the future, some from a world that never existed. The factory is the anchor that keeps him from drifting out of the timeline entirely. That's why the trials repeat. That's why he already knows the children's failures. He's seen these events before, maybe dozens of times, and this time loop has one ultimate goal: find the one successor who can break the cycle. Charlie isn't chosen because he's lucky. He's chosen because he's the only child whose decisions change the loop. Look at the world outside Wonka's gates. Cynical adults, greedy corporations, declining imagination. A society where wonder is dying. Inside the factory, everything is alive, colorful, imaginative, childlike. Outside, gray skies, crumbling cities, and adults who mock fantasy. Wonka seems to know something the rest of the world has forgotten. Imagination is a resource, and it's disappearing, so he protects it. The factory isn't a business. It's a vault, a fortress built around the last place where creativity still thrives. He tests every visitor not for morality, but to see whether their imagination has survived adulthood. Charlie is chosen not because he's perfect, but because he still believes. Wonka's real role: he's the guardian of the last spark of wonder in a world that's burning it out. There's a line people forget. Wonka says, "I can't go on forever. I'm an old man." But he also doesn't act like an old man. His movements are deliberate, secretive, practiced, like someone who has carried a tradition for far too long. What tradition? A craft that predates modern society. A craft tied to alchemy, whimsy, transformation, imagination, and the creation of things that bend reality. Wonka isn't a businessman. He's the last member of a dying guild, the final craftsman trained in a forgotten art that blends magic, science, and imagination into one. And the reality is, he isn't choosing a successor for fun. He must choose one, or his entire craft dies with him. Charlie isn't inheriting a factory. He's inheriting a mantle. The mantle of the next creator, the next guardian, the next reality bender. Wonka isn't strange because he's whimsical. He's strange because he's not what he pretends to be. Whether he is a time-locked inventor, the guardian of imagination, or the last craftsman of a forgotten magical order. One thing is clear. Willy Wonka is not a candy maker. He's something much bigger. The Oompa Loompas always knew the outcomes of the accidents. They weren't shocked. They didn't hesitate. They had songs prepared in advance for every child. Which means Wonka told them who would fail and how each of them would fail. His workers aren't employees. The factory is not a workplace. It's a world with rules and rituals. Think about it. Why does the factory need a child ruler? Because a child is the only being pure enough to not exploit it. A child won't commercialize the magic, weaponize the recipes, or sell secrets. Wonka is protecting a power source. And this is what nobody ever talks about. The factory reacts like it's alive. The doors seal themselves. The rooms change shape. There are impossible physics. The boat appears on its own. The ceiling elevator breaks reality. This matches magical realism, but also fits another explanation. The factory might be sentient. Wonka isn't controlling it. He's listening to it. This is why he needs a successor who is innocent, open-minded, fearless, and respectful. A child who won't fight the factory's will. Charlie isn't being rewarded. He's being chosen. Charlie is the only child who sees the factory with awe, not hunger, resists temptation, respects boundaries, apologizes when he messes up, and offers Wonka empathy. And most importantly, he returns the everlasting gobstopper, a literal test of integrity. The moment he gives it back, Wonka knows the factory will accept him. This is why Wonka explodes with joy. Not because Charlie passed, but because Wonka is finally free. Wonka isn't trying to pick an heir. He's trying to identify the first human who can survive his inventions, adapt without mutation, resist environmental manipulation, make ethical decisions under pressure, and follow him willingly. Wonka is creating a successor to a program, not a candy business. The factory is not a candy company. It is the prototype for a closed utopian society, a world engineered under one rule, Wonka's. Charlie is chosen not because he loves candy, but because he's the first successful subject. Wonka's real identity? An architect, a geneticist, a visionary, a mad scientist building a new kind of humanity, one sweet bite at a time. So yes, Willy Wonka makes candy, but candy is just the handshake. The real work happens behind the doors labeled private, where treats can bend physics and a chocolatier might actually be rewriting the human race. The original story hints at something bigger, and the rarely mentioned sequel quietly confirms that Wonka's world has never obeyed the rules of reality. So yes, there is a second Willy Wonka book, one that proves Wonka is far more than a chocolatier with Wonka in space, advanced biotech, time manipulation, alien knowledge, political recognition, and global consequences. If you want a video on Willy Wonka's second book, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.